One of the biggest frustrations of being a screenwriter or a filmmaker is you can't get to the audience. You need to find people to champion your work, and then you got to wait by the phone until they call you and say, yes, it's happening. My guest today did not wait by the phone. He has figured out a way to cut out the middlemen and the middle women and go straight to the audience, and in the process, take 7 figures. What was the budget on your first documentary?
Yeah, so the budget was around $150,000. And by the time everything was said and done, I think it grossed around $3 million.
Which is a great ROI. But what is so different about this is that this was off 30,000 downloads, purchases.
Yeah, 30,000 purchases.
And that the people who bought your film paid $100 each for it.
Hey fellas, look what I found in my pocket. Look, a year's salary right here. What I call them? Fun coupons.
Riley Dayne, how the hell are you?
Thank you for that quite complimentary intro. I appreciate it.
So Riley, did you think you were going to be broke like every other filmmaker starting out?
I mean, obviously you spend a lot of money to go to film school, so that's already always, an investment. And then I came out, and like many people, I wanted to make movies. I wanted to make documentaries, and I had not a lot of experience in knowing how to get that done, the production side, where this money was going to come from, how I was going to do this. And I decided to kind of take an unorthodox route. I had done some affiliate marketing in my late teens, early 20s. I had done some digital marketing consulting for different agencies. So I kind of had these two worlds where I understood this new kind of digital realm where people were making a lot of money online selling different things. And then I kind of understood the filmmaking world. And I noticed that no one had really connected these two dots before. It was either you were a filmmaker and you followed the traditional Hollywood route, similar to what you were speaking about at the beginning, where you're waiting for a lot. You're looking for money from a producer, then you get the film finally made, and now you need distribution or a sales agent. And then I saw people making money with digital marketing, but no one had really decided to take these two worlds and merge them. So that was really my thought process, and that's what we did. We give the films away for free so people can watch them completely free of charge. And then we have basically these deluxe packages that we sell on the back end. So, maybe 1 out of 100 people who watches the film will go ahead and purchase that. And we charge generally around 100. So that's kind of how we got that 30,000 sales at $100.
How do you find an audience that's going to be prepared to pay? I mean, how much footage were they buying? How much content were they buying for $100?
Yeah, so in this instance, it basically came down to around 25 full-length interviews where people go more in depth into some of the topics that we've talked about. So essentially, we put together a big, cool box set. And if you want that, then click the link below and you can purchase that. But this is why picking your audience and your niche is really, really important.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The only way you're going to make money, especially as a documentary filmmaker, is to be making things about topics that people care a lot about. So the film that we have been talking about here, the first film that I made was a film called The Abundance Factor, where I traveled around to 6 or 7 different countries, interviewing people on the mindset behind success and how to manifest your dreams and create abundance.
Facing death at age 22 left me shaken, confused, and with more questions about life than ever before.
The thought process that went into that is I knew that people like myself who are very interested in this are spending money on courses. They're buying books.
You started not with the idea for the film. You started with the audience.
Essentially, I'm looking for markets where I know people are hungry and I know people want more.
So the takeaway here is think about a small audience that will pay a lot of money for your content.
Yes. You want to look at people, do they go to events like this? So, Comic-Con is a great thing. So these are people that are so interested in this that they go to events. Do they buy books on this? Do they buy courses on this? Anything where you can see that people are ravenous fans or they're spending money on this idea tells you that that's basically a primed audience for something like this. The cool thing about niches is that people generally aren't there to compete with you the same way that these massive studios are. They're all competing over the same thing. How can they make Fast and the Furious 115 and make everyone in the world go see their movie. With this model, like I proved, if you have 30,000 people in the whole world that are interested in what you have to say, you can make a healthy profit, right? And I mean, if you had 1,000 people, 2, 3, 4,000 people that were interested in what you had to say, there's more than enough people there to make your money back and to turn a profit.
Come on.
I watched a documentary on Amazon called Elstree 1976 about all the extras and their stories working on Star Wars. Now, as a documentary, it's only 90 minutes long. But like you, they must have so much interview footage. Now, do you think Star Wars fans would have paid $100 to watch 10 hours of extras talking about being on Star Wars?
From a financial standpoint, you are now in heaven.
People have decided what films are worth to them. And even though they take sometimes millions of dollars to create, if you're on Amazon buying a Blu-ray, you're not going to spend more than $20. Likewise, you know, a singer, an artist might spend a year of their life crafting the greatest song of all time, but on iTunes, it's 99 cents. And so we've all kind of culturally decided these are the price points we're willing to pay for these things. But if you're willing to think outside of the box, that's where you can start charging, you know, more around the $100, where everything becomes easier. Because if you were only selling a movie for $10, that's going to make advertising challenging because you don't have a lot of wiggle room with your ROI. That's going to make a lot of investments challenging. Yet when you have a $100 price point, you've 10x your ability to be a bad marketer, right? So because now you can still pay $40 to get somebody to show up to watch your movie. But if you're selling it for $50, you still made $10 profit. If you're selling for $100, you still made $60 profit. So you want to insulate yourself against having the worst luck possible. I just wanted to highlight that even when I came out of film school and made this first film, my filmmaking knowledge was pretty sparse. And to be honest, the quality of a lot of what we did was not the greatest. But in the end, it's your message that matters. It's the material that matters. And it's been successful in spite of it. So if you're there and you're hung up on thinking, oh, well, you know, my lighting needs to be this good or my camera needs to be this good, worry more about the story, worry more about the quality of what you're putting out in terms of the content. Because, you know, if somebody has something to tell you that you care about, you know, you're watching this right now streamed. I'm not in some multi-billion-dollar studio, yet if what I have to say to you is valuable, you know, the rest is more or less irrelevant. So I just want to kind of touch on that point and highlight just how not important I think it is to get everything perfect, especially when you're starting out.
So film students could take a lot of cheer from this and say, rather than, oh, I got to persuade somebody to back my first documentary, you know, in terms of I'll shoot it and I need to find a distributor. No, you'd say, no, don't do that. Create a sales funnel, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Make it yourself. Or, you know, if you got to borrow some money, take some loans to get it done. And then create a sales funnel and get it out there yourself and cut out the middleman. And instead of paying, you know, someone else 95% of what you're going to make, pocket that yourself. And I mean, to be completely transparent, I did have investors on that first film, so I didn't keep all of the money that it grossed. But it was still, you know, for a first film and a first time filmmaker, I've since learned just how unique it is to come out with, you know, not a bad paycheck.
You were on what, like 10%? So
Exactly.
It grossed $3 million. You took $300,000 off it.
Yeah, exactly.
As a sort of newly graduated film student.
Yeah, with no filmmaking experience. So I was more than happy to.
You're a screenwriter. You might be saying, well, this has nothing to do with me. I wrote for 20 years. I wrote 45 screenplays. 30 were paid for. 6 of them got made, and not everything that I wrote I was credited for. But I was never on the battlefield. You know, I wrote instruction manuals for other filmmakers to make. We have got to stop making instruction manuals, which are scripts, and we got to start getting involved on the battlefield and get stuff made. And the route to do this, so we're not forever sitting by the phone and waiting for somebody else to help us, is to get busy and to listen to people like Riley and hear how they not only got their films made, but they also made a very good return.
Think of yourself as more than a writer. And in the old world, when everything was so out of touch, you couldn't be the writer and be the person who finds the money and be the person that puts the project together. But in this era with the internet, with, being able to stream, communicate with all these people, and, get to the end of the line yourself, especially if you're interested in writing documentaries, there is no reason to not be involved in that process all the way through, seeing that from inception all the way to releasing that in distribution online. And this is kind of where I'm interested in exploring next. I very much want to get into the narrative world and start directing narrative more. And I'm very much going to be taking my own writing and directing those pieces and trying to self-distribute them. And we'll see how that experiment goes, but I'm hopeful.
And are you going to keep self-distributing documentaries to fund your narrative? Is that the one for them, one for me? Is that a possibility? Can we see the day is right when Comic-Con, is back in 2022? Is that going to be the hunting ground, looking around saying, where are the documentaries? I mean, it's not a bad place to start, is it?
I love documentary film. And it's ironic that documentaries are traditionally the thing that you go into knowing you'll never make any money. And for me, they've been the consistent money makers where I can count on my docs to make back the profit. And they very much do feed the short films and narratives that I'm working on. So it's not a bad model.
I'm interested in making documentaries and true stories. I gravitate towards them. One of my clients is writing a screenplay, and we've been saying this could be a documentary. If you have access and you have the right story and you have a niche, it sounds like this could be a way that you could put together a documentary for $100,000, and then everything you learn on that, you could then take into a narrative story, which is exactly what you've done. I think you're a pioneer, and I know that many distributors, of course they're all over Facebook, and of course they're selling us these movies, but what they're not doing is charging niche audiences $100 for behind the scenes footage and extra audience footage. And that blows my mind. And you gave away the movie for free, right?
That is correct.
This is the way that you can get rid of all the middlemen and all the middlewomen and go directly to the money, not the studio money, not some producer, not some distributor, the person who pays for your film. And if you can go direct to the money, you don't have to share it with anyone. How about that? Scriptfella, out.
Yeah.
So Riley, you haven't just self-distributed documentaries. You've used this sales funnel to sell feature films directly to the audience, and you've made a ton of money doing that as well. Tell me about it.